Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome to the We All Juggle Knives channel. This video is going to go on the prepping playlist. It's about growing potatoes, yes, becoming self-sufficient. If the economy goes belly up, we all might have to do things that maybe we're not used to. So I had some potatoes that had gotten kind of old and they had started sprouting. And I'm looking at the potatoes and I'm thinking, I bet if I put these in the ground, I bet they would grow. So I checked out some organic gardening resources and I looked into growing potatoes. So I did grow them in that box, and after a few days we had some good rainstorms and the potatoes really seemed to like that. So after a few days well, that's them, right? They started growing out of the soil. So when I looked up how to grow the potatoes, they said that you can grow them in a container like a bucket or a box. Now that box does not have a bottom, right? And they said just cover the potatoes with about 8 inches of soil. Now I have a compost bin, so I had some good compost and that's what I used, 8 inches. Now the box should be a little bit taller than 8 inches, right? And this is the harvest of the potatoes. Now they said you can grow them for 3 or 4 months. I wanted to grow them for 4 months to get them as big as I could. However, I did harvest them after 3 months because we had a heat wave, right? And so the stalks broke. And they said that if the stalks are still green, it doesn't matter if they break. But once the stalks started to die, that's part of the harvest. Once those stalks started to die, I decided to harvest the potatoes right then because I figure they're probably not going to get any bigger, once those are dead. So yeah, they're not huge potatoes. The ones I planted were a fairly small breed of potato as well. But this was, well, I wanted to do this as an experiment because, before you go planting a huge amount of them, you want to make sure that you actually understand how to grow them, right? So I did learn a lot from this little test run, and yeah, the next planting season I'm going to do the same thing but with a lot more potatoes to plant, and the harvest hopefully will be bigger. Now, when I did look up how to grow potatoes, I found out that they are actually one of the easiest things to grow. You don't need special seeds or anything. You can just use potatoes like I did from your grocery store. I did not water the potatoes at all, but we did have some big rainstorms that watered them for me. But things I learned, I planted them a little too close to some other plants because I didn't want the deer to disturb them, so I figured the other plants would distract, but the other plants grew faster and they kind of interrupted the sunlight a bit. All right, so that was my harvest. I'm happy with it because the little scraps that I planted, they had all sprouted and the eyes were all, had grown from the eyes, so they were not edible before, so I turned scraps into some potatoes, which I'm going to put in stew, actually, with other root vegetables, radishes, turnips, and beets, and maybe a little beef stew added to that. But I think it's important to try to get more self-sufficient, especially with food. You never know what could happen. The economy could go belly up, so it'll be good to know how to grow some of your own food and maybe shoot some roadkill and eat things that you didn't think you would eat before.